This is Phantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, ancient primordial spren? And this is Steven, your host with Phantology Podcast. I have my lifelong friends, Jake and Josh, on, and we're talking about the first half of Wind and Truth. This will be full spoilers for days 1 through 5, including the two interludes after day 5. So if you haven't read, just don't listen, and it'll be spoilers for anything else in the Cosmere that we feel connects to this part, but we're not going to go any further. So really just the first half of the book. So after reading almost 700 pages, we're ready to do one review.
Dang, has it been 700 pages? I've been doing
Yeah.
just digital. Jeez.
Yeah. So it's
It's like,
almost exactly 50%. And
yeah, it was like 32 and a half and 32 and a half or something on the
yeah.
audiobook in terms of hours.
One fun thing from Dragonsteel Nexus that they talked about was they had a hard limit from Tor that the book could not be longer than 1,344 pages. That was the max amount they could possibly bind with the thinnest possible paper in the
And he
book.
broke it, right?
No, no, they got to 1,344 pages. Initially, it was 20 pages longer. So
Mhm.
the editors talked about how they had to go through and do some clever things to save margins here or there and drop down the number of pages.
Why
Yeah, it
don't
was
they
super
just
interesting.
why don't they just print taller books with the same print, you know?
I mean, the height needs to match up. You have to have this one match all the other books on your shelf.
I'm guessing that would mess with shipping, distribution, bookstores.
I
Like
don't
I'm
mean taller than any other book. Like there are books that are taller than the hardcover of Stormlight.
There are, but Tor has already printed 4 books that are a certain
Yeah.
height. This one's got to match, or people will be mad.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That's funny
Yeah,
though. He's like
there
literally
are
maxing
certainly
it out.
taller. Yeah, yeah, and probably when he, I mean, I'd have to compare. I wonder if this one's. I wonder if his leather bounds are taller. They might be a little bit taller. Although those are split into 2 editions each.
Yeah.
Anyway, super long book. And what are some initial thoughts? I mean, yeah, you guys go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just powering through it. Like it is it's hard to know since like the pre-release chapters you had to, which I partook of, you had to wait a week in
Mm.
between. So like the pace was set for you. There were times during those where I was like, it's crazy that nothing has happened yet. Not that it wasn't enjoyable to read, but just you have 10 days, people. Like, why isn't anything happening right now?
Uh-huh.
But I haven't felt like that at all since the book came out, reading I guess I started day 3, right? Because days 1 and
Yeah,
2
yeah, yeah.
were out in
Hmm.
pre-release. So days 3 on have just felt like nonstop. We kind of talked about this in the Discord. It's felt similar to A Memory of Light, Wheel of Time, the last Wheel of Time book, just how like it's like, all right, we're just starting and we're not stopping.
Oh, bam, bam, bam. Viewpoint, 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 viewpoint.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's not do spoilers for Memory of Light at all. No plot things, but
Yeah.
it's not as extended. I mean, there's a lot of action in that book for sure. But this feels like you said, since day 3, it's been pretty much nonstop action. I mean, interspersed with visions and Zest's backstory, but
Hmm.
everything else is super exciting. And we're only halfway through the book. There's 5 more days, and clearly the action is not slowing down.
Yeah. How about you,
yeah,
Josh?
I think it's been really, really well paced. Like you said, it will be interesting on like a reread to go back and
Hmm.
do it all in one shot, versus
Mhm.
what I feel like it's like a I don't know, think about like in terms of running a marathon, which I've never done, but I have hopes to one day. But it feels like you're starting out at like a jog and now like just going for the first like quarter and then you just start to go into a full on sprint. It's probably a weird way to do it. That being said, like everything's really compelling. I was talking to Ben a little bit about it just on the phone, and I think at the start of Seth and Kaladin's journey, when it's kind of said that they're just going to go to each of the different each of the different
Monasteries.
but what monasteries, yeah.
Yeah.
It would feel kind of like a Pokemon game where you just go to the different gyms and you have to defeat
Yeah.
the gym master. That's what
I
they're
was
called,
also
right?
getting some vibes of Mistborn 3. Which one is that?
Oh, where they just have to go
Hero of
to the
Ages,
different cities
right?
and
Yeah.
find
Yeah, where
the
they have to go find the different stashes and stuff.
yeah stashes. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. But that being said, is I feel like it just I feel like they've been different enough where it doesn't feel like that necessarily. Like one battle, like the first battle is super cool with the floor being all,
So cool.
wavy. That was
Yeah.
so cool. And then
Yeah.
the next one was in Shadesmar or was wait, yeah, now I'm already
They
mixing them
they
up.
went
But
to the next monastery and
and it was
found
just
that I think it was it the Will Shaper one. Correct me if I'm wrong there in the comments, but that Guardian had died rather than given.
right.
And then the
Yeah.
next one was the fight in Shadesmar.
That was cool. And that was tricky how one of them committed seppu what's that term from
Seppuku.
yes.
Seppuku. Whatever it is. I don't
Seppuku. Yeah,
know.
yeah. Um, but like in an effort to contain Seth
Hmm.
um to Shadesmar. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that it started out feeling a little bit gimmicky, but hasn't felt that way as I've been reading it.
Yeah,
Um,
he's done a really
yeah,
good job of, like you said, there's certainly a danger of like, wow, this is getting repetitive. But through four, how many honor blades have we collected now? We've got five. I can't keep track of them all. We're about halfway, right? And the fights have
Yeah.
all been like there's been different mechanisms so far, which
mhm.
is needed.
Yeah, I think all the fights have been amazing. Specifically like the Zeth fighting. I mean, all the action so far has been really great in general, but especially the Zeth fights. I I was a little put off. It did feel a little video gamey of like we're on this
Yeah.
quest collecting these. And I kind of like I get that maybe the story is just forced into that. Ideally, this would be like over a longer, I say over a longer period of time. How much longer can you be
The
than
1400
13?
pages, it's not long enough.
But it is kind of like I do feel like the Zeth and Kaladin plot is like it's almost like a B plot in the book a little bit with like the Dalinar plot taking uh more front and center.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
not
not
I
as
don't
much to like to stew on and theorize on
yeah,
in that plot. It's fairly like, okay, they're gonna go
it's
do
just
this.
straightforward. Yeah. I'm loving Zeth's back or flashbacks.
Yeah.
Um and I like how Brandon is trying to tie like the relationship with these masters that he's now having to cleanse.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I was a little put off by that, and I think some readers will be. But again, the actual like scenes themselves are so great. It just does feel a little like just jumping from place to place. So far, the character work during that has been enough to make up for it. I'd say though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the thing that has saved it has been the backstory for me
Hmm.
and seeing the different um the ways that the settings that we're in has now contributed to who Seth has become. And so I've really enjoyed that. Um I think that the conversations between Seth and Kaladin, they felt a little bit clunky sometimes, like with like Kaladin, it
Yeah.
just seems like okay, it's gonna start with Kaladin wanting to make a breakthrough, and then he gets close but doesn't, and then he has to push through that, realize something about himself, and then Seth realizes something about himself, and then they hug it out. You know what I mean? Like it just feels a
Yeah.
little bit repetitious,
It's
repetitive.
definitely the bromance that I wanted, but I think my main thing about the book that I've really been loving it so far, but the thing that I have the love-hate relationship with is the way that Brandon's trying really hard to bring in modern ways of thinking and therapy and like just, really good ways of like these are all good ideas and like good things that for people to know and think about. It does seem a little clunky at times, like
Mhm. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
in the fantasy setting, and then I don't know, like I love that it's in there and I love that it's something that people can connect to, but at the same time it's like it just
I
feels a
think
little strange
c- can I
sometimes.
can I point something out here? I think that
Yeah.
if he did a little bit of showing, not telling, then and even sometimes
That's
he
my
just tells
big
in the
issue.
dialogue. Like I feel like it would almost be better to see actors doing it because they could be showing the emotions that are kind of just said on
Yeah.
page or said in dialogue or like in thought bubbles or whatever. Like I think that actors would be able to convey that in a better way than he's been doing with his writing of the
Uh-huh.
scenes.
I think a lot of I think my biggest criticism so far of Wind and Truth is I feel like there's so much that needs to happen that like things are a little too direct, like you're saying, specifically in like dialogue. Like people will be talking and then like there'll be like a full-on explanation of character motivations and like, oh, it's because of this. And the best type of writing I like, that is stuff you pick up on, like thinking of like the characters and like Abercrombie's work, or even like I feel like The Way of Kings was a really good example of this, of like you're really in the person's heads and you're following their actions and you're like getting a sense of who they are, and like you're like, oh, this is why this person's doing this, rather than being told,
Mm.
oh, that's why you're doing this, you know. I feel like there's a lot of that, and I don't know if it's part of just like trying to meet a deadline, or if there's just so much to do in this book that it's
Yeah,
like I can't convey this in fewer words other than outright stating it.
and it
But
almost feels like a little bit too much beta reader feedback. Maybe I'm just completely, I don't know, nerding out
yeah, I
from
have no
Giant
idea
and
how that
Steel
works.
convention, but it feels almost like it's kind of like, oh, I was a little bit confused about the motivation at this part, and then he hears that feedback, so he's like, oh,
Yeah,
I'll go add in a few more lines of dialogue that probably didn't need to be there.
Mm.
I don't
maybe,
know.
yeah. It's very
Maybe an
on the
Yeah,
example.
nose.
I'm trying to think of
yeah.
a concrete example. Maybe one is like when Adolin explains, I don't want to be a Knight Radiant because I don't want to take the oaths and I
Mm,
don't feel like
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
feel I didn't think that was terrible. Like I was like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't really thought about Adolin that way, but yeah, maybe it didn't need to be direct. I mean, we get a lot of time in his head, so maybe we could have picked up on that without the direct. Like I think he's just like telling
Or
this to May or
or or,
yeah,
some kind
like
of B character. Yeah.
or even Kaladin being like, and then it clicked into place for Kaladin. Seth wasn't himself. Seth was Tien. You know what I mean? Like, and just spelling it out straight up. Like, you know, when he
Mm,
realized that Seth was 9 or 11 years old when he
yeah,
was taken from his home, like he just kind of has a few lines of dialogue of like inner monologue, I guess, of like spelling that out. Like that's something that we all
yeah.
knew, right? Like we just
And that
didn't
was a
need it
really powerful
told to us.
moment.
Yeah.
But I think the better way to experience it would be Kaladin remembering a scene of Tien doing something
Yeah,
similar,
well, and
you know,
he
rather
and that's
than
well,
mm.
they had that. I think they had. I think
yeah,
he remembered. Oh, and then
He
Tien had,
remembered
and then
about, I think
like
it was
I
like
think
the
he,
toy horse and
yeah, the
the
toy
yeah,
horse,
pelt. Yeah.
like yeah,
yeah,
and so we all got that. Like the readers. I think it's trusting the readers enough to be like,
yeah.
oh yeah, they're gonna put that together. You
That's
know,
I think that's all kind of our preference in writing
that's true. Yeah.
and reading. And I do think that is a mark of higher quality writing. Sanderson has always tried to ride that line of accessibility. And so maybe this was an accessibility play. I kind of think a lot of it was there's just so much he needed to get out that this kind of stuff got
Mhm.
left on the side of the road in terms of priorities, which
Mm,
Yeah.
it's still like that moment, like that is like a standout moment in the first five
Yeah.
days of
Mhm.
Zeth and Kaladin. Kaladin finally understanding Zeth as a person, seeing how, and this is something I think he did do a really good job of showing, not telling. It's just how much Zeth is that kind of foil parallel to Kaladin. Something we haven't really talked about. We always talk about Moash being a foil to Kaladin, which I think he is
mm,
as well. But I think Zeth is specifically doing all this killing. He doesn't want to kill, whereas Kaladin's trying to protect and like he's surviving. They both have this like
mm,
hatred for like self-hatred because of the situation they're in, and not
mm.
and because of all the killing that's going on. And so like that kind of stuff I thought was like very shown, not tell,
Yeah.
in a good way. Um
Yeah.
but
Kaladin
yeah,
naturally assumes like, oh, Zeth is like me. I need to make this
yeah,
connection and like kind of does it mistakenly. And yeah,
yeah.
there is a lot of good stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's probably been some of my favorite is just I already liked Zeth a lot. Like I thought he was a really interesting character, and like his motivations were very like just Zeth in this unique way. Um, but getting more of his backstory, especially like what we learn in this last day, man, just feel for that guy so much more,
Mm.
and just like the constant like I'm just trying to do what's right, I'm trying to do and like
But
all
like,
I
what
know
is right?
yeah, and the only way I know what is right is by what I'm taught. So I'm trying to follow that and like never, never like living up to everybody's expectations.
Mm.
My perspective on that is because like the things he's being told are being told by imperfect people. So, there's no way for him to be perfect when he's following the orders of imperfect
And
people.
plus, he's being led by this mysterious voice.
I mean, yeah, I was meaning even like before that, but yeah,
Oh, sure.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but
Do
yeah,
we let's touch on some like theories and speculation as well as we go through the characters and kind of have a balance there. Do we believe the assumption that this is an unmade? Like that is, I feel like this is being pushed really hard. Like it's an unmade, it's an unmade, it's
yeah.
an unmade. Is it possible that there's a subversion and it's not an unmade?
So they mention an unmade at the beginning of the I guess earlier. I can't remember if that's at the very beginning or in part three. Um, they mentioned an unmade whose name I didn't remember, and so I was like, oh, this might be the Shinovar unmade, and that's why I didn't really recognize the name. But I am kind of thinking the more it goes on, like I think something fishy is afoot, and like
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned in the Discord, like, is it an unmade or is this a broken version of like another Splinter of Honor or something
It
like
uses
that?
Stormlight to heal Zeth. When Zeth dies, like one of the lanterns goes out and Zeth is healed. I don't see how that could be an unmade accessing Stormlight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
Unless
what
Seth,
else could
unless
it
it,
be?
well, I always think it was like a spren that was starting to bond Seth. That's kind of what I was more
You thought it's
thinking.
the beginning of one of the high sprint bonds?
Yeah,
Or
because
some
because
other
then
spren in play?
Seth could have used the Stormlight like kind of like Kaladin was doing, and
I don't think so though, because the other
It would
at
have
the
to
end,
be,
like all the other honor blade holders are hearing the same thing. Like
that's
this
true.
is
Yeah,
more powerful than just
yeah. So
yeah.
I think it can't just be something he's bond like a regular sprint he's bonding. Plus, like in order to do Stormlight, it'd have to be a sprint from the Radiant Orders if that was how he was accessing it through a Radiant Bond.
Mm.
Um, yeah, like I'm trying to think, could it be like we know Wind and Truth are like primordial Spren. That's what it seems like it is. Like these ancient.
Is truth one or I,
Well, okay, I guess
I
we
mean
know
they
Wind
talk
is. It's
about
really
capital T
hinted.
truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really hint at it is.
It
Um,
seems like it is. And there was so in Venli's chapter when she hears the Chasm Fiend singing, she notes that
mhm.
there were four distinct rhythms, and she's like, "Why are there four?" And so maybe that is wind, truth, stone, and night. Are those the four?
I was thinking that had to do with the Dawn Shards, like the tones of Roshar were the tones of the four Dawn
Oh,
Shards. But my
hmm.
Dawn Shard knowledge is not great. The only reason I thought that is because they existed prior to the
Yeah.
Shattering. But did the Dawn Shards were they created by Adonasium or were they created by
Oh boy,
the
I do not.
shards to shatter? I know they were used to shatter Adonasium,
They were
but I don't remember
used.
if if they existed
I
prior to that use case.
I thought that they were more of like building blocks of the Cosmere.
That
Like
okay. So yeah,
I think it
so
was kind of like tools that Adonalsium used to like build the Cosmere is kind of the
if
way I've thought
Hmm,
about them, but
okay.
I don't know. I haven't done that much of a deep
And then they
dive
were
into
like
them.
used
That's
against. Anyway, yeah,
in the
maybe we
community.
if that
pass
if
on that. Let us know in the comments if you know more
if
about the
that's
Dawn
the
charts.
yeah, if that's the case, then I assume the four tones were the four like coming from the four Dawn shards. But
Mm,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if that's the case, then like would this be truth? I guess truth and stone could be associated with um
yeah,
Zeth. Although we see the stone more associated with the chasm fiends.
with Venli and Or is that just
Yeah.
because she's will shaping and those are
Well,
like lowercase stone?
but the chasm fiends were interacting with the stone and with their
That's
singing
true. When they were
first,
showing
and
the
then she
whole,
joined
yeah.
in. Which,
Mm.
yeah. So but I guess to tie up the Zeth
Could also be
theory,
night. I mean, the people are going out in the night. They're like afraid of the daytime.
I'd assume the Night is
Maybe.
the Night Watcher. Like the Night Watcher was
Yeah.
the version of that.
Yeah. Grew into the Night
Although
Watcher.
I assume the Stormfather would have been the Wind one, and we know that that is separate. So maybe the Night Watcher is the replacement of what was
Mm.
Night. I don't know.
Truth could
But
make
yeah,
sense. Like this is like a bastardization of the truth over time.
yeah.
That's now
I
leading
really
Zeth down a
think
weird truth. Yeah.
I really think it's there. I feel like you're right. There's a surprise in there. I don't think it's as simple as an
It's too
unmade.
obvious. Brandon does this
But
all the time. He like sets you up with enough hints to be like, oh yeah, of course this is what's gonna happen. Then he flips it.
yeah, I think there's going to be a moment where you see that those I want to call them heralds. They're not heralds. They're the honor nimmies.
Yeah.
That
On enemies.
the honor nimmies instead of just being like, oh, they're corrupted in the same way that like Amaram was corrupted or people under Thrill, I think we're gonna see like, oh, maybe they're still serving like the original like God force they served from the
Mm,
beginning, and just over time it got corrupted, so then therefore they did, rather than
yeah.
them being seduced by a power of
I like
odium.
that. I like that direction.
I don't know the like details of how that
Mm,
would fit in the specifics,
yeah.
but that's the vibe I'm getting.
Josh, you on board for this? Phantology guarantee?
You know what? I I think we slapped the Fantology guarantee on
Heck
it.
yeah, let's do it.
But I will say that I am still convinced of my Ventology guarantee earlier from our predictions episode that Seth
Okay.
is the one that takes out
Yeah,
Dalinar.
remind
Oh
viewers.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, my prediction was that Dalinar was gonna lose. He was gonna become Odium's champion, and then Seth was gonna surprise Todium and and take out Dalinar after
Mm,
he goes into his employ. That's my Fantology guarantee. Even though it contradicted my other Fantology guarantee that we would see Dalinar going about the Cosmere being
yeah.
but you know what? I like it. I like
You're
that
hedging your
guarantee. So
bets. You're hedging your bets. I
I
like
just
it.
think Seth killing Dalinar would be so cool. Like in terms of his character progression.
Mm,
It would be brutal. It would be really, really sad and hard, but I think that that would be his final way of being like, no, I know what's right. Like, even though I know that Dalinar is honorable or whatever, like I still need to do this. Yeah.
okay.
I think that his whole character arc could be leading to
Okay.
something like that.
It through 5 days, it is open. It could track.
Okay,
Yeah.
deal.
I don't remember what my guarantee was. Dang it, I forgot what my guarantee was.
Mine, one of my guarantees was that Cultivation, her plan with Taravangian, was going to go like according to her plan. And I think specifically the interludes at the end of day 5, I think 99% of the way upend my whole prediction, because we get Taravangian realizing like it seemed like her plan was the way it's been presented so far, present him with these two opposing sides of himself so he could really learn how to do
Yeah.
that, and then also split the passion into only being on compassion and not having the cold intellect to serve it, that like thwart him from becoming a like rageful, not just rageful, but this threat for the Cosmere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we see is him realize, no, the intellect side of me wants to do this because just it's the best good, what is the greater good? And the compassion side wants to do it because it's the best way to protect his people. And then together they want to do it, like, so all sides of that cultivation seem to walk away defeated. Is that how you guys interpreted that as well?
So your guarantee is no more.
I think it I think 99%. I think now for it to be possible to still work out is for if I still feel like Taravangian's going to win at the end of this. And if he does, the only way Cultivation's plan could work out is him conquering the Cosmere does actually end up being the best case scenario for the Cosmere. And Cultivation comes at the very end and he goes, I knew it because I foresaw these other futures. She like Doctor Stranged it, but
Oh
very,
gosh.
She Doctor Strange. She realizes that Thanos needs to make the snap.
yeah,
That Todium does need to win, take over the
yeah,
Cosmere, and
yeah.
then our heroes will come back from the spiritual realm, invade the Tranquiline halls, and take out Odium. Is that the
I don't know. I'm saying it's a less than a percent chance that Cultivation was right to do what she did.
Doesn't seem to
Yeah,
be working
it's
out so far, for
not,
sure.
Yeah,
not
not
looking
working
good for
out.
Cultivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to Adolin's plotline. I think this, like, there was that awesome scene where he goes through and rescues the other Chardberry, right? But I mean, that was sick. But other than that, like, I've really enjoyed all of his parts. I think this is a really, it's a really fun setup for this set piece where it's kind of like a reverse siege where they're trying to
Hmm.
defend this small area. Like,
It's like
I
King of the
can't
Hill.
think, yeah,
King
I
of the
can't
Hill,
think
yeah.
of another like big fantasy fight of this setup. This is really unique and fun.
It's like yeah, it's like King of the Hill or Control and Halo
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm a little disappointed at how slow this part has been going. Again, the action scenes we've gotten have been amazing, but there's just so much anticipation. I'm like, something needs to happen already.
Like nothing, okay,
But
nothing big enough has happened. I mean, the biggest moment was when they almost got the other shard bearer and Adolin had to go hero mode to go rescue him. Other than that, it's kind of been a little
I
bit of a grind.
just not a lot of like huge plot significance yet. It feels like kind of like in
Mm,
Rhythm of War, how there's a lot of like one step forward, one step back. Like uh,
yeah.
push and pull
Yeah,
on it.
I do
Um,
think that his relationship building with what's his name, the emperor,
Yanagon?
the Yanagon, I think that
Yeah.
that's been really cool. Um,
yeah,
and those are the type of relationships where now so deep into the series, it's just really cool to see. Like, oh, I've never really thought about those two characters interacting, but yeah,
Mhm.
that does make sense that they would be friends or that they would have this sort of
yeah.
interaction. It the
I
the one thing I will say is that the framing device of the 10 days does make it easier to critique of like why are they spending an evening learning chess basically, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit
yeah,
strange, like, but if it weren't for the framing device, that's the type of things that you love about epic fantasy and Stormlight. Is like a 1400
yeah.
page book that takes the time
Mhm.
to have these characters sit down and talk and get to know each other and build a relationship, but the framing device does make you like, okay, let's get a move on. So yeah.
Yeah, I do think I guess first of all, that action scene was amazing. I loved the new fused we're seeing. Lots of fun there.
Mm.
Steven pointed out that the what are they,
The
the
focus
might
ones,
the focus ones
the
are
one on
basically,
the Shattered Plains.
oh yeah, those are on the Shattered Plains, that's right.
Yeah.
But those are essentially the Godskin duo from Elden Ring.
From Elden
How
Ring. It's
yeah.
100% that. Like first of all,
Yeah.
Brandon loves Elden Ring, and he's talked like I happened to watch one of his videos randomly, and he talked about how cool of a boss the Elden
He has a
Ring
whole
or yeah,
video on those
just
bosses.
on
Like,
the gods can do it, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
About how like it builds you up through the game to like finally face both of them at the same. Yeah, it was
yeah,
totally that.
yeah. But I guess I forgot Adolin wasn't fighting those. But when he picks up if it wasn't the focus ones, which are the huge bulky ones he used as a
Oh,
warhammer
yeah.
essentially?
I don't remember
The
what the
Santa
word is.
Claus, the Santa Claus looking people. Sorry, with the big
Yeah,
belly and then like
No.
yeah.
yeah.
Those are the focus
Those are the
ones.
focus
Oh,
ones.
those are the
Those are the
focus
ones.
ones.
Those are the
Oh,
Elden Ring. Good. That's the Godskin
Yeah,
duo. Josh hasn't played Elden Ring, so you probably didn't follow that.
yeah.
But that's what that was. Go look at
Anyways,
my GIF on the Discord channel, and you'll understand right away. No, this is
anyways,
I don't remember the name. Yeah, there's a name. They're like the ones that have grown bigger. Some whatever
yeah.
word that is.
But super cool to see him like, all right, my Warhammer is shot. You are my new Warhammer. You've been
Yeah,
causing so much devastation. Like, yeah, that was amazing.
and he comes away with just a
But
bloody leg at the end of it.
yeah, there's some pretty gruesome parts in this
that's like
for
a full on anime.
Sanderson.
It's like a full on anime status, you
Yeah.
know? Like if
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
ever filmed live, if there's any hope of making his works like if they ever get released as a movie PG-13, they're not having that scene in there.
Yeah. But I will say, despite all of the plot significance that I'm hoping to see in all of Adolin's scenes, I think it's I've never liked Adolin more than reading his
Mm.
like these chapters of him. I
Yeah.
think like
Yeah.
I feel like it's really letting us get to know him at a different level, and maybe it's just because he's grown so much and we're in his head again. But like I think
Hmm.
I can't remember much of his POVs and Rhythm of War. Oathbringer, I remember there's some significant parts of him in Kolinar. But like I've just really gotten to enjoy his character even more during this. I love his
Is
stuff
that
with Maya.
why you said you're worried that he could die? He could be being
Yeah,
set up to
yeah,
die.
yeah. I feel like he is being set up to die because
That was
I
one of our predictions in the predict that Adolin would die. I don't remember who did that one, but that was definitely something we talked about.
yeah, and not just because like I'm liking him more, but just I think like it's not just the typical like an author setting up a character for you to like just to kill them. I don't
Mm.
think it's so much that that's going on as much as getting to know Adolin more and his personality more and like what he will do. Like I'm just like he is going to be putting himself in the most dangerous positions, and he's a little overconfident and too altruistic, which I think is a recipe for,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to go be this key figure in this moment and then fail because of it, you know? So really,
Your
and
other
also,
theory was that he might be starting to access like the unbound surges by not
yeah.
taking
So
the oaths.
yeah, so that moment we talked about where he mentioned he's not a fan of oaths because in his mind they don't allow for actual growth as a human being. Um, while at the same time his bond with Maya is definitely growing. So I wonder if somehow he will access these surges similar to how people had surges before the Radiant Oaths.
Yeah. What
But
we're seeing with the heralds and the visions. Yeah.
yeah, but in a way where he is not one of the like risky destructive forces of it.
Mm.
Because you do I think don't we see like Kaladin kind of access that in Rhythm of War? I wasn't sure how to interpret that when he had like the glowing eyes. It was like before the tower was turned
Mm.
back on all the way and
Yeah.
he was able to do some surges. And I know
Right
people always
after
said
he killed Lesian.
the pursuer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because I know some people are like, oh, he's getting power from odium, like as in because he's like getting too dark inside and accessing it. And then
That's
I
what I
saw
assumed. Yeah.
but I saw other theories saying like, well, he's accessing. It's not that he's like turning dark and getting powers from odium, but he is just accessing the primal surges that
Mm.
odium offered before, outside of
Mm.
the bonds of an oath. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
wonder if
Yeah.
I wonder if Aelin is going that way, but in a more noble way. Um,
Mm.
Kind of similar to how I hope Zeth's arc ends with him becoming the law, but becoming a law that is uh not rigid in that way.
Compassionate. Yeah.
Not just compassionate, because I think most systems of law are designed to be compassionate, but it's the rigidity that I think
Mm.
uh stops that from always being possible. But
Couple points. One, I mentioned Lesian. I think the counterpoint to, or like this book's version of Lesian is Abadai the Monarch, who is
yeah,
pathetic through 5 days.
yeah,
Like this
yeah.
character is not threatening at all. Like, oh man, keeps on getting his butt kicked. I don't like this. Like, come on, I'm not afraid of this at all.
I do kind of like it's almost comical all the different famous void bringers that there are, when like really the only one that has intrigued me is L. Um, like the pursuer, even he kind of became comical
Yeah.
after a certain point. Like it's like very much like I am the pursuer and I pursue, and like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am the monarch, I will rule. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
which
I
I
think
get. They're all
Leshwi's
insane.
interesting.
Like, but she's not this. Like, does she have a title like that? I don't remember.
I don't
I think
remember.
she's just
Yeah.
a regular fuse, not really like a.
Uh,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, or is she a fused or a regal? I don't remember the difference between
No,
those.
she's a fused. She's a
She's
fused.
fused.
I
Yeah.
well, thing, is she? I'm pretty sure. She's a heavenly one.
Yeah.
That's a fused.
Is it? Yeah, that's Fuse. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, they don't all have titles like this. I don't know what we
Yeah.
call this, like, yeah, the hero fused, but
yeah.
so far Abadai, yeah, come on.
Not doing anything. What did you guys think of Nodum? Um,
Showing up, yeah.
yeah, showing up.
I don't know what to make of that. Like,
I was taken aback. I'm like, did I forget something from Rhythm of War that would let him just pop out of nowhere like
no,
this?
he's just like, here I am. I'm ready to help, but I don't want to bond. Okay.
But he's like almost fully in the physical realm somehow.
Yeah. He was
'Cause he's
able to
like-
find himself within a day. And they're just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, since Syl came over and like we're a lot faster now since back then.
I chalked
don't
it up to
know.
me not remembering a ton, but and after finishing day 5, there's been some Reddit threads that have been useful that are like specific to days. Like this is day 5's Reddit thread, day 4's Reddit thread, and the Stormlight archive.
Man, I'm still way too scared to look into something like
Yeah.
that for
Oh,
fear of
well,
something. Yeah.
The night is
no
dark
sp-
and full of spoilers.
no spoilers from that I was able to see. But one person on there was like, I don't trust this Nodum. Like he gains sentience way too fast. And they're like, this has got to be a Ghostblood Lightweaver or something
There's also
like that.
that like weird Thalen that's just following him around, Adolin around. And Adolin's like,
Yeah.
this dude has always been fighting with me. He's never rested. And he follows him through the whole carnage bit. Like that, yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, and on that same subreddit, people also mentioned him as a potential other Ghostblood. Lots of people think there's
Yeah.
Ghostbloods all around Adolin.
I think Hamask or Humsk is his name.
That's his name. Oh,
Yeah. HMASK, something like that.
yeah.
One other thing on Adolin. So my theory on how this is going to play out is I think Yanagon is going to die. I put this in our Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is just what I'm thinking, but there was a mention that I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was like Aamir is really tied to the life of their monarch, right?
Yeah.
So maybe and there's that part where Adolin's like, we need to check the actual accords to see, what could actually qualify as the city falling. So I think Yanagon's going to come in all, full of juice that Adolin's pumped him up with. He's going to die, and that's going to be like, oh crap, like your monarch died. So actually for Aamir, this means that it's fallen, it's taken.
Yeah.
What if Adeline then becomes the monarch of Azir? How did it happen when?
No, man, he's got to
They're
take the
voted
test and
on.
everything.
Yeah.
It takes too long.
Oh,
It takes
yeah.
too long.
I think there's going to be some contractual shenanigans for sure with Azir in terms of like how it either retains its freedom or loses its freedom. I do.
Do you guys?
Okay. I've been saying Aamir, but the country's Azir. Yeah.
Oh,
Ca-
I don't know. I do have hope that they do hold out, that the Asish retain their freedom, but
well,
that
that's
might
what I was
be
gonna
overly
ask.
optimistic.
So that's what I was going to ask is, like, how much do you guys really care about Azir or Azir? Like,
Azamir's the capital. Azir is the country.
Azir.
I care. I care.
Do you
I'm
care?
really
I care.
invested.
I care a
You
lot.
guys care. Okay.
Yeah.
I like don't really care that much.
You don't care?
Like well, I don't know. I mean, I care because our heroes care.
You care
but,
because
like-
Adolin's there. Yeah.
Yeah, but like do I
Adolin
really
being
care?
there makes you care a lot more for sure.
It's like
Well,
I don't
and getting
really
to know them more. And Sigil,
but like Sigil never interacts with.
Well,
them.
Sigil's not in Aamir.
but he's Azish.
I know. He's Azir.
Oh, sure.
I know. My point is that like how many like
Dude,
Asian
Josh is the
people do we
freaking mink
know?
right now. Like,
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
the
care
mink.
about. I don't care.
I don't care about the
Aesir.
Minx lands. I don't care
Yeah.
about the Shattered Plains.
Well, so okay,
I'll say that. I don't care about the Shattered
No,
Plains.
the Shattered Plains
No.
matter. They matter.
As of chapter-
terrible
As of chapter
terrible
60,
take.
they matter. Up until that
terrible
point,
terrible take.
no, listen.
Terrible take. No,
Up
no.
until chapter 60, I was always thinking, why do they care to retain the Shattered Plains? Nobody lives there. They try to say it's like crucial to these supply lines. They have oath gates, so it doesn't really matter for that. Like they should not be putting any effort there. Like I feel like it was not supported. Well, it's
But
similar
we
to me of it's similar to how Shallan was like, I know we have this contest, but I really got to figure out what the Ghost Bloods are doing. And turns out the Ghost Bloods are super important to the plot line overall. But at the time,
Uh,
we didn't have that information, so it felt weird. Like, why are you trying to
I
like
guess that's fair.
shoehorn
That
this in
that,
there?
that
And
could be fair, yeah.
that's how the Shattered
okay.
Plains have felt up
Okay.
until chapter 60, I think.
I'm just saying.
Was.
I'm just saying. Yeah, chapter 60 is a big one. I'm just saying. I just like we're introduced to Asish characters, and same with like other lands. Like I
Like
the only
Thelena,
like
is that
yeah,
Yeah.
like you can look at the map and you're like, oh yeah, this character's from there. Like the bridge crew is kind of fun because you have all these characters from different lands and representing different parts of the map, and so it's all fine. But like I don't know if I would have an emotional reaction. Like I would care because of Adolin failing in his task or whatever. But like I'm not
yeah.
like I'm not hoping for the land like it in itself to
I care a lot,
stay.
Josh. I care about the people
Okay.
there.
All right, well that's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad it's working for you.
I think the
I'm glad you
Azish
care
are
about
like
the people.
the I think the Azish are like the best example we have of social progress
Yeah.
in Roshar. Like they don't have a monarch.
Yeah.
They're this
They've even
this
got the
definitely bureaucratic meritocracy that
they
isn't functioning
they
super well.
they've even figured out how to hinder transgender. So, that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had, no, I have
that's
their
out
They're
that's
way
that's
on
out
the
of
further than we
paperwork.
are. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I meant in terms of like leadership, but I forgot about that. Like and then also they're like they've been constantly like threatened by these barbarian Alethi, who like come on, who's the closest to Odium on the human side? It's got to be the Alethi. So
Oh
like
yeah. I mean, they were led by the Thrill for years.
yeah. So like these
I'm not saying
Asians,
that the
they're doing all they can. So like to me they represent a lot for their nation to fall
okay.
under
All right.
Odium's control.
I'm glad. I will
Also
try and care
Sigzil,
more.
reading the
Sigil
Sunlet Man.
Sigil's been
Yeah.
Sigil's been fun so far in this
Yeah.
book. One more thing with Adolin. 100% guarantee that Kolat he's gonna die. As our Australian friends will say, he's cactus. That's my guarantee. That's my guarantee.
Jonas just
He's
learned how to
cactus.
say
He,
cactus. That's a phrase. He's
he's
cactus.
cactus as
Yeah, yeah.
Who taught you that?
Koala from our Discord.
Walla.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's a couple other Australians as well.
Yeah. That's why. That's why I
Cactus.
asked.
hmm
He's cactus.
The-
Do they have cactus in Australia?
They
Cacti?
must, right?
I don't know.
I don't think
We'll
I
have
ever
to-
saw any while I was there.
Oh, you didn't
Never
see the
been.
whole country, Josh.
Well, I know. I saw a lot of the country. I saw a lot of New South Wales.
I don't know. We'll have to chat on Discord, and I guess that's a
That's
plug
funny.
if you want to chat with us or
Yeah, there
anyone
there
else
are.
from around the
No,
world.
no.
Come.
So they don't
No,
have any
no.
native cacti, but some species
Mm,
have become naturalized and are considered
okay.
invasive.
Mm.
So sorry, who's cactus again? Who you're saying is going
Kolat.
cactus?
Yeah,
Kolat. Who's Kolat
yeah.
again?
Kolat
Be
is
honest.
Adolin's like second in command. He's the guy
Oh,
who is mentioned as the Windrunners. He was almost a Windrunner. The Honor rejected
yeah.
him. He's just hanging around, like always kind of buddy
Yeah.
buddy. We like him. Yeah, he's dead.
You think he's dead? I have
Yeah.
obviously given like no thought to him since I couldn't remember his name, but
Yeah.
very possible,
Yeah.
especially if
Okay.
Adolin is cactus as well.
Yeah.
So
And to just finish that, if you want to chat with us on Discord, you can find an invite in the episode description below.
yeah.
Okay, let's swap over to Sigil
Shattered Plains.
and
Yeah.
the Shattered Plains, which Ick doesn't like, but they did
Oh, I like
become
them now.
relevant. Yeah. And the fighting there is also like this is another cool setup where we've got this like strategy of acceptable losses, and they're gonna and I think I think there's a lot here. I think that this fight seems like it's not going well. It's going the worst out of any of the fights. Like it feels like we're about to break at any moment, like completely, like through day 5. I'm not even expecting them to survive one more day.
Yeah, yeah, they don't seem so uh here's my prediction. They're like getting quickly overwhelmed, like more overwhelmed than they expected. I'm really hoping Venli and the Chasm Fiends
Oh, for sure,
come in and save the
100%.
day.
They will. I mean, they're going there to learn
They're
more about. Yeah,
are they Gandalf on the third day at Helm's Deep?
they
Are they
might
the
be. Yeah, they're coming in with the chasm fiends.
yeah. Um
It says
Also,
on
the
they'll be
this.
stone,
like
the stone wall, whatever, Dammy, I think Dammy, that like he's just been introduced for that one scene, but I
yeah.
immediately latched onto him as a very cool character. I need to see more like hero time from him.
Are we doing full Cosmere spoilers up to this point?
Yeah, we said we would. So if
Okay.
we want to talk about the Sunlit Man, we can.
Okay, to be on, yeah, let's do full spoilers, Sunlit Man, if they're necessary. I stopped probably two-thirds of the way through it when Wind and Truth came out.
Mm,
Um, I know that it's Sigil and Sunlit Man.
right.
It was kind of spoiled for me, but also like it was pretty apparent. I felt like
Mm,
while reading it. But I'm kind of bummed that everyone recommended reading that before Wind and Truth. Like there's a lot of
mm.
tension that I think is lost, specifically Sigil's storyline
Yeah.
due to
Like
this.
Sigil will survive, but his spren, don't remember the name, is not gonna survive because he like bonds this other
Vienta.
spren. Yeah.
Well,
I don't
well,
remember exactly. Sunlit Man's kind of fuzzy for me, but he
does
definitely she's not there.
well, they say and I haven't finished Summit Man, so maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it says he broke his oaths. So to
Right.
me,
So okay, so
to
maybe yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I expect I don't expect that to happen in Wind and Truth. I expect that to be
No.
a like some like time after somewhere in
Yeah.
between book 5 and 6. But like I know Sigil's gonna survive. Um and yeah, so that kind of ruined that
But you're
tension for
right.
me a little bit.
Yeah. And even in future books, maybe some of the tension is ruined because we know where he
Yeah.
gets to years and years later.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like I think it's interesting that he has such a crucial uh moment of like conflict in this book. Um while we already know that he's gonna survive. But
Mm.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, actually, that exact same thing. I think that that's just the way that Sanderson has structured the Cosmere, is that it's going to spoil itself sometimes.
which I think is fine, but I think
I know.
I mean he
Yeah.
could have just delayed Sunlit Man, or he could have said, or he honestly, I just don't know why he said it should be read before Wind and Truth. Like if you look at their like recommended reading guide, it's in between Rhythm of War and Sunlit and Wind and Truth, which I don't get.
Mm.
But um
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I don't know, I guess going off of that, since we're like theorizing, we already said I don't think he's losing his Spren this book, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
bonding a high Spren in this book either. I think in my mind those are like another book will
Well, he's
cover
still got to
that.
like hold a Dawn Shard and go through all this stuff to get to where he is in Sunlit Man.
But the Dawn Shard is after those two events, right? After losing his honor Spren and gaining a high
I would
Spren,
assume so, probably. I don't remember.
because the Dawn Shard is what almost killed his uh high Spren.
We'll have to go,
If
but
what
I would
Yeah, but
need to refresh. I'm not going to have anything interesting to say on that, honestly.
anyways, so Seth, or not Seth, Sigzil,
Sigil.
a little bit of the tension gone for me, but I'm excited for the Gandalf Helm's Deep moment
Yeah.
with
So
the Chasm Fiends.
what's the speculation on Shattered Plains? The moon, there was another moon, and it hit the Shattered Plains like
Well,
years
they
ago and
say
left.
they say Honor did it. They said they was
Honor brought down the moon onto the
it's,
settlement that they had built.
I think they said like the moon fell from the sky and Honor struck Storm Seat. Like I can't struck was if that was right, but like ideally like or essentially Honor destroyed Storm Seat intentionally is what it sounded like.
The vibe I was getting was the moon had fallen, leaving this detritus that
Yeah, which there is
wouldn't,
that.
wouldn't react very as well to regular stone when they tried to manipulate it. So upon doing this, it like blew up in their face and it was Honor's fault somehow.
Yeah. And maybe just their myth tells it this way that
Yeah.
it was a punishment from Honor. But I was getting vibes of like a Tower of Babel or something like that.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
like what they were doing there was somehow antithetical or dangerous to Honor, which it sounded like maybe it was Unbound Surges as well. Like that's
Mm.
something I thought of, but I don't know. But
Josh,
yeah, so
same
the
same
Shattered Plane
same
is important now.
interpretation, or did you pick up on anything else, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's obviously going to tie into where they're at in the visions. I think we're going to get
Yeah.
a piece of information from the Shattered Plains, a piece of information
Mm.
um from Shallan, and then a piece of information from or Shallan slash Relaine slash
Renarin.
Renarin, and then a piece of information from Navani and Dalinar. I think that we're going to put those like pieces together all around the same time. Know, figure out, what killed Honor and how they can use that to take down Odium.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my prediction. I don't know whether it's going to be, but I think that's how it
Makes
how it
sense.
plays out. Yeah.
And Honor died at the Shattered Plains. That's my assumption so far. Like it's
Or his
important for
death is what
reasons, right?
I was thinking that his
Oh,
death
I
is
didn't
what
think about that.
caused the shattering of the planes.
Right.
I
And then I assumed like his power is imbuing the area somehow.
Imbuing,
And that's
yeah.
why, because one of the big
And that's why
questions is
they,
why do the Chasm Fiends go here?
yeah.
yeah.
Because
So
they,
there's
yeah.
some powers there. I remember
I don't know. Yeah.
initially thinking that about Honor's death causing the Shattered Plains prior to this book, but I felt like that chapter kind of upended that theory for me.
I don't know if it was they used the power from the Shattered Plains to kill that was at the Shattered Plains to kill Honor, or if it was his honor that imbued the Shattered Plains. I was kind of thinking the first one that there is some well of power at the Shattered Plains that was used to kill Honor, and then that can
Yeah,
still be felt there. Yeah.
maybe. I think right now the Chasm Fiends are going there for the moon rocks,
I mean, could it be something like
moonstones. They're
the
like Clefairies.
could it be something like the Well of Ascension?
Like
Like
Honor's
the well is there.
perpendicularity is
Yeah.
there? Honor's
Yeah.
well or whatever it's called. Don't we know? For whatever reason, I thought his moved, which made me think it was a storm, but I thought it was confirmed it wasn't the storm.
Ooh,
But I
I
thought his
don't know.
moved
I
because
don't know.
they said at one point you can only traverse through cultivations because you can't predict where honors is going to be or something like that
Hmm.
Hmm.
when moving in and out of Shadesmar.
I don't remember. I
But
do
maybe it's
remember back in Way of Kings. Remember when Capsule is showing Yasna all the different like cities with the
yeah,
rhythms and the sand and
cymatics.
stuff? Yeah. Yeah. So they talk about Shattered Plains at that point too. Like, so it seems like this is Honor's ancient rhythm that has formed this pattern, right? That's my assumption.
I thought it was so building off of that, a lot of the cities are shaped around the cymatics, which
Hmm.
I think we can deduce at this point is because they were kind of I don't know if sung actually into existence, but the
I
rhythms
think
of
so.
Roshar
Yeah. Yeah.
were like used to create it. And so we also learned that there was a city before the shattering, in that now it just looks like jagged plateaus. But I thought it was uh, I'm assuming that city was created using the same rhythms and singing, but then it was shattered on top of
Oh,
it, and
okay.
so that's why.
So maybe okay,
But
maybe all there is to the rhythms is that they were created using, the whatever
hard
they're
to know. Yeah,
the singers
um,
basically. Yeah.
I do think
Venli's
it's
folk.
I do think it's interesting that the rhythm the Chasm Fiends use. This is making me think they're Clefairy again. They're going back to Mount Moon to get those moonstones
Uh-huh.
because they use rhythms that Vinley isn't familiar with, like additional rhythms, and I think it's rhythms from the moon, and those rhythms are
Hmm.
associated with
That's the fourth
The
rhythm
Dawn
that
Shards.
Venli, the
Yeah,
four that we talked about it. Hmm.
because there were three moons. There's three moons now. There used to be
Yeah,
four,
yeah, yeah.
and then we had a uh
Uh-huh.
a Malazan type event.
Yeah. I wonder, you remember that like weird moon story about
Oh yeah.
one
Yeah.
of, yeah. What,
I don't remember any of the details of it other than
yeah.
it including a moon.
Makes me wanna reread that and see if there's some hints of what's going on here.
Yeah. And those were the Natan people, right? The
Yeah.
faintly blue skinned.
Yeah. Yeah. The blue folk.
Which
Yeah.
do they exist currently? I don't remember. In
They
I think
Stormlight?
they do.
believe they do, but have not done like anything significant.
They don't have like a nation.
There's a blue person in one of Renarin's visions in
Blue
like day
veins,
two.
right?
Yeah, when him and Relaine are like looking through the windows and seeing there's like this vision of a bunch of people in a peaceful grassy area. One of them's got blue skin.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
So,
is. I have no idea what the
Natan.
heck that was.
Um, I think talking
Yeah.
about honor, uh, good transition into
Yeah, let's go to
Dalinar and Shallan's
Dalinar. Yeah,
quest.
yeah. We haven't talked about the visions yet, and then we've already gone on pretty long. So let's probably go through that, and then maybe like a few more final details.
Yeah, I think we are seeing. I love seeing the heralds in a different light, like a very different light.
Mhm.
Pre-herald heralds. Talon, what a like bad A, like he's great. I love him.
Yeah, he tried
Um,
to kill Cultivation. That's interesting. I don't think we're
yeah,
gonna get that any more details on that until his book,
yeah.
but
I
that's really
assume it
interesting.
was. I assume it's similar to why he was mad at Honor, just for not protecting the humans.
Mm,
Because at that point, like,
yeah.
there's been this conflict between the humans and singers and everything.
Hmm.
But he's fun. I really like Nail. I like Nail more and more. It's cool that they like are showing that he is like as twisted as he is now. He was that honorable before, you know.
Mm.
Um, I think I'm a little disappointed in Honor himself. Like he doesn't seem to
In,
be a good leader at
in
this point.
Tanavast,
Yeah, and Tanavast. Yeah.
because I mean, going off of like, first of all, you failed us the first time. And now you haven't really helped us very much in this new world. Yet you're like guaranteeing success if we do this.
He just seems like the Oath Pact does not seem like a super thought out thing. It just seemed like it's kind of happening, and Honor and Tanavast is like, okay, yeah, we'll do this. Like this should be like the peak of him being
Because it was like
like,
it was Ishar's idea, right? It's
yeah,
and Tanavas is
yeah,
like, oh, okay, good idea. You have presented me with an acceptable solution. I agree.
yeah. He just is coming across as a very weak god in all aspects of that. Like he might have a great power, but like he doesn't really know what to do with it, doesn't seem like. And he
Mhm.
doesn't have like that like commanding protective presence. I felt like I felt like there's a big reveal when Honor is dead in Way of Kings, and you're like, oh
Mhm.
no, like this god no longer is alive. But I thought at some point he truly was the Almighty, and I'm just not seeing the
Mhm.
Almighty represented
When
in
we
these
see
visions.
him, he was being impersonated by Mraize. So maybe there's a little bit of that to
The
it,
whole
right?
time, the whole time he was.
I think so.
I think that entire vision, yeah.
That's true. That's true. Maybe that's why. That makes me confused how the vision was able to proceed. You know what? Maybe that's why. I guess I have to take that back. It
The
was.
visions are a little confusing and they're a
Yeah.
little cheesy in that they're like they ask these really leading obvious questions and they're like, "Oh, okay, let me tell you about this." And I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense they're visions, they're not real life, but sometimes it does read kind of clunky.
Okay, I have to take back all that criticism of Tanavast's character since it was Murray's.
Hmm. I
Hmm.
mean, maybe it was Murray sticking to the script because,
Oh yeah,
well,
he was sticking to the script.
yeah, right? They because
Yeah.
otherwise Renarin's friend would have picked that
Bliss.
up, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gliss.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. I'm back to criticizing you,
All right,
Tanavast.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
Tanavast.
speaking of Murray's, way cool scene with her or with him and Shallan, right? Like that was
At the end?
I thought,
It,
yeah,
it's interesting because I was almost like, oh man, I don't know if I want him to die right now. Like I just feel like I kind of
Yeah.
want Shallan to, it would be good for
Uh-huh.
her character, but I've grown to really like him. He's a cool anti-hero.
He is
Or not
so
even
good at
anti-hero, but like
dangling the next thing that they
yeah.
need and preserving
Yeah.
his own life and advancing. Like
Yeah.
this is really, really good. Like this,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just love the scene that Shallan was tempted by it and was like, no, you got to die. And then he was still able to like get
Mm,
out of it while also dropping this information about, I guess we'd already seen kind of Taravangian hint at it, but of Bado Mishram being
yeah.
a better vessel for the intent.
Hmm.
Is that a, but like basically we learn she could be key to destroying Odium. And then but in order to do that, she would have to take up Odium's power. Like, I don't know how you could do one without the other. And if that's the case,
Yeah.
do we ever, like,
Maybe it just becomes mutual destruction type of thing where she's
yeah,
leveraged, but there's like there's no positive outcome in doing this.
because she caused the false desolation. So, like, I
Uh-huh.
don't see her as being, like, I don't see how she'd be any better than Tervangium. Like,
Mm.
especially all the unmade are kind of crazy. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I'm really looking forward to seeing Aratium, Heritium, however you say that,
yeah,
when everything
the right.
falls apart and the recreants, and
Yeah.
that is that's probably the number one thing. Like I want to know how this all works out because
Yeah.
I don't like the pieces are there, but I don't know.
And I thought it was already explained that it was just they found out that those surges destroyed Ashen, and so they gave up their oaths for that. But clearly, it's got to be more than that because it's been like so
Yeah.
much more has been hinted at this point. I guess, uh, and that so much more that we don't know about has been hinted at. But
Yeah. Yeah. I think two theories that seem okay. There were two big theories coming in, the Generac theory and the Gavinor theory. And I
mm,
think the Channa theory is
confirmed.
like, yeah, I mean,
It's
when there's that,
confirmed.
yeah, Shallan has to break away from her persona and Radiant comes in. She's like, oh, we need to talk about why you didn't want to see her. Like, yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. The Gavinor one, I think it, or am I saying the name right? Yeah,
Gavinor.
Gavinor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's leading to that. Like he's unaccounted for a full day in the spiritual realm.
Uh-huh. Well, nothing
Um,
weird has happened in that time. He's still the same kid thus far.
uh, one second, my
Well,
phone, my camera is about to disconnect. Sorry. Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay.
I was gonna say, wasn't there that line where Dalinar was like, oh, and then it flashes between like a connection to like a child, then an
Yeah,
adult, then
and
a
the old
child, back
man
to a
and
child.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's like, is it
yeah,
Ellicott? No, what is it? Yeah.
yeah.
Man,
There's some sussy things happening, man.
I still don't like this theory. It's just
I
kind
don't,
of it's not as exciting when the theory has been out there for years and you kind of like
dude.
and then like
That's not
it's
his
coming
fault.
true.
It's not his
I
fault.
know it's not his fault, but I still am not like in love with it. And I still stand by that Gavinor is just a kid and is not a developed character, and I'm not loving it. But I
Again,
know we had this like whole
it's not,
conversation
yeah, it's
earlier,
not the
so yeah.
character. It's not Gavinar. It's Elgar using a tool,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's that tool that's being used, that's being forged
I'm
by.
open to it. It just feels like it's happening, and I'm not super excited for it. But okay. I would be okay with that. I feel like Sanderson could pull it off. The thing that I'm the thing that I'm worried about, and I would not be okay with, is if there's a Kaladin Syld romance, which there have been moments, I'm not gonna like this. There, like, I cannot see a way in which I like this.
I'm I'm not rooting for it. I think it would be weird. I don't think I'm as opposed to it as you are.
It just feels super
So
incestuous. I don't like it.
yeah, it does. It does. But
Kaladin doesn't Kaladin doesn't need it. I think they're both I like still developing as like a human character, but
I
Yeah,
I agree. I there have been hints at it that have been off-putting to me.
the weird
But
dancing scene. Yeah,
I like that scene.
I don't think I would have thought anything of it if I hadn't seen all these shipping rumors. So I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. If there's no shipping, I'll be better with the dancing scene. But if it's leading to that, not happy.
as far as Gavinar goes, one criticism with it is I feel like he's written as if he were like a 4-year old. Like he's written so,
I think he was 5 or 6.
I think he's 5. I want to say he's 5.
is he that young? I thought he was like 8 for whatever reason.
No, he's younger.
I mean,
Hmm.
is he 5 Rosharan years? Because that would be like,
It is
what
slightly
is
different.
that? Like 8 R years. Anyways,
It's
I,
he
two.
I,
seems
you
like
can't Google that right now, Steven.
Okay.
Don't Google it.
No, they haven't
um
put spoilers on Coppermind yet. They do a good job of that. It says he's 2 or 3 at the time of the infiltration of Konar. So an Oathbringer, he's 2 or 3.
so
So
he's
that
pretty
gives
young.
us
Yeah.
he'd be
Okay.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Retract that criticism. I think it is confirming more the Gavinor thing because he was gone for a full day in the spiritual realm. I think that's plenty of time for Odium to have like started to infect him.
Doesn't
And
seem he doesn't seem any
he
different though in the next couple
he's
days.
no, I'm not saying like to fully like take him over and possess him, corrupt him, but like to start planting ideas in his head. And especially when he's
Mm,
talking to Dalinar and he's like, "Oh, what are we doing here?" And Dalinar's like, "We're looking for a weapon to destroy our greatest
yeah,
enemy."
yeah,
And Gavinar's
yeah,
like, "Oh yeah, I'm all about that. Let's do
yeah.
that." Like
Heck yeah.
he's very excited to get vengeance
Yeah, he's always been
um
about that. For
and I
sure.
think it'd
He's
be
gonna
really
kill
easy.
his father's killers. And
Yeah.
if Moash was somehow tied into this and like presented as like Gavinor, this is the guy that killed your father, that could be interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that because yeah.
I mean, Moash is off in the Shattered Plains right now with his new hemalurgic crystal spike eyes. So I don't see how
Yeah.
he's gonna get pulled into the spiritual realm right now.
That was a cool
But
moment.
maybe, yeah.
Who is who's the person who made
He's
the
Batar.
crystal?
She's one of the
Sorry.
other heralds. She's the
Oh,
one
she
who
made them.
was,
That's right.
yeah, she'd been an Ardent
Yeah.
in Carbranth, and
Yeah.
she was like the advisor for years. Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
forgot it was a herald.
it has been a little hard keeping track of all the heralds. Like, do I know what the Herald Videl does or Palia? Like, not really. And I know there's 10 of them, and it's to expect the reader to track all this and care about all of them is kind of hard. I think he probably did a good job of saying, like, just care about Taln, Ash, maybe
Yeah.
Yezrian, maybe Nail. That's probably a good idea on Sanderson's part, but it is a little frustrating on my end where I'm like, who exactly are these people? Like, they seem really important. I want to know more.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Man, I'm interested to see what Moash does.
All right,
I don't know.
final words here. Let me just say through 5 days here, I've been thinking about like how do you craft this book? And like hats off to Brandon. I know he's got a team that helps him with this, but just the intricacies of moving all these pieces around and keeping it flowing and keeping all the continuity stuff, like it was pretty amazing, honestly. And this is why it was a 3-year project with more than just him working on this. Like, I'm really impressed by this, and I'm expecting it's going to continue for 5 more days. So, in that, like, I think that's the best part of this book, just the ability to totally throw you into this and keep it spinning, keep all these balls in the air for so long. And I will see how he does in the next 5 days, but I've been really impressed with that so far.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one's paced uh better than Rhythm of War. I think that was one of Rhythm of War's
Oh,
uh
way better, way better.
weakest or biggest weaknesses, I should say. And this
Mhm.
one, yeah, I think they've done a really good job of, and I think it'd be hard to keep pace because it's like 10 whole days, something exciting has to happen time to get people going. And I think while still, like you said, Josh, maintaining the realism of like it's a whole like it's basically we're watching kind of like a season of 24, where it's like
Yeah,
every hour has to like mean something. But
Yeah.
nice.
And you got to have a lot of variety in these different set pieces. You can't, I mean, every day is going to be another Adolin fight, another Sigil fight. It can't just be the same thing every time, so it's got to be a little bit different. And I
yeah,
think that's done well. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm stoked to continue and see what happens.
Nice. Me too.
All right, our new ending, as suggested by one of our friends on Discord, is to take our beginning. I've been talking about this. I feel like our ending is lame. We just say like, "Thanks guys for joining," like lame, right? We need to have a cool ending. So the suggestion, we can hammer this out. Maybe there's other ideas, but so far the best idea is we're going to take our beginning and then like superimpose that. So I don't know how to make that cool quite yet, but we'll just say wind, truth, knights, stone, primordial gods. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.